relationship is all about. Now, the External Affairs Minister in her opening remarks said that we see natural synergy and tremendous potential for a deepening engagement in several critical areas of mutual interest, including energy, education, skill development, trade and investment, nuclear cooperation, to name a few. And so, broadly, it covered all these aspects and many more. She also said that it is our intention to accelerate the pace of our growing partnership, and it is our manifest desire to deepen it further. I hope that encapsulates to you what the Indian approach to our relations with Canada is. On the Canadian side, the Canadian Foreign Minister, Mr. Baird, said that improved relations with India is a priority for Canada. He said these were exciting times for India, and Canada is keen to engage and enhance its partnership with India, and this is a partnership that really matters for Canada. He then went on to indicate that he was in New York at the time when Prime Minister was there. He said, in fact, he was amongst the people in Central Park, and he could understand the enthusiasm that is there now for India in the US and in Canada. So one of his initial suggestions was that the Prime Minister should visit Canada at an early date. This has been accepted in principle, and the Prime Minister will work, Prime Minister's office and the Ministry of External Affairs will work out a mutually convenient date. Now, I'll try and take you through some of the issues that were discussed, and then if any of you have questions on any other issues, I won't be able to capture all of them, but I will try to highlight some of the main ones. One of the major areas of discussion was expanding their hydrocarbon production. And he indicated that something by 2020 they would be producing something like 7 million barrels per day of oil. He indicated that they are also working on outlets on the eastern coast of Canada, and that would be easier for India to offtake once these come up. So both from our perspective that we need hydrocarbons There was also discussions relating to possibilities of research and development on nuclear power plants. You are aware that we are intending to scale up our indigenous production of nuclear power plants, and the pressurized heavy water reactor that we are planning are for approximately 750 megawatts, which is what the Canadians are. Then there was a fairly long and detailed discussion relating to what Canada can work with India in terms of our economic development efforts. And in these areas, the topics that we focused on was skilling. And there was a fairly detailed discussion on what would be the areas that Canada can specifically contribute in terms of specific projects on our skilling projects. There were two areas that were highlighted. One was in the hydrocarbon sector. The second was related to hydrocarbons but can be used elsewhere, that is welding processes. And the third was on water-related activities, which is clean water, cleaning of rivers, etc. So these were the areas that there was a fairly detailed discussion, and the technical ministries are now going to take this thing forward in terms of further cooperation on specific projects. Both the Canadian Foreign Minister as well the External Affairs Minister were quite excited about the possibilities and the range in which we can cooperate in these two specific areas. In addition, there were discussions on people-to-people cooperation. Perhaps you are aware there are approximately 1.2 million people of Indian origin in Canada. They are an extremely useful resource in bridging India and Canada. So there were discussions on that. There were discussions on trade and investment. Currently, our trade figures do not reflect the potential of India-Canada relations. It's approximately 5 billion plus. The target was 15 billion by 2015. And if we have to reach anywhere near that target, we need to exponentially increase our trade. The other area was investment. While India is open for investment, we notice that the Canadian investments into India are fairly limited. It's approximately $4 billion of investment of Canada into India. On the other hand, Indian investments into Canada are in the range of 15 billion. So there was an acknowledgement that investment opportunities from both countries need to be expanded, especially Canada, because as India opens up its opportunities for manufacturing, investment, etc., we hope that Canada can also be a useful partner in that. If I have to sum up this discussion, it was one in which both of us felt that there is immense synergy, possibilities of cooperation across a vast spectrum of activities, and hope that we can utilize the opportunities that are arising in India. It is expected that the Canadian Prime Minister will be also participating in the G20 summit in Brisbane, during which Prime Minister is also expected to participate. And there are possibilities that if we can work out a sort of a short meeting, that would be their first meeting after Prime Minister's election in India. That's about Canada. I have another small little announcement to make, following which I'll open the floor for any questions, and that is tomorrow the External Affairs Minister will be receiving the Foreign Minister of Guatemala, Mr. Carlos Raul Morales Moscoso. This is the first visit of a Foreign Minister of Guatemala to India. Those of you who are following Latin American affairs are perhaps aware that there is a conclave being organized by FICCI on Latin America, and he comes as part of several Latin American leaders who are coming to participate in that conclave. Guatemala is the largest country in Central America. Our trade with them is approximately $225 million. Very heavily weighted in favor of Indian exports, which include pharmaceuticals, automobiles, IT, and yarn for textiles. I think I will stop at that. No, I have one other announcement, and then I will stop at that. And this relates to the External Affairs Minister's visit to London. As you are aware, the External Affairs Minister is also the Minister for Overseas Indian Affairs, and in that capacity, she will be visiting London on the 16th and 17th of this month. This visit is to participate in the regional Pravasi Bharati Divas, which is being held in London on the 17th. Those of you who are aware of these arrangements, usually every year there is one regional Pravasi Bharati Divas organized outside India, apart from the Pravasi Bharati Divas that is organized in India. Usually the Pravasi Bharati Divas in India is organized in January. And depending on the region, the regional Pravasi Bharati Divas in one region is organized outside India. This time it is focused on Europe, and the External Affairs Minister will be there. Utilizing this opportunity of a visit to London, she will also be meeting her counterpart, Mr. Phil Hammond, and call on the Deputy Prime Minister of the UK, Mr. Nick Clegg. The Prime Minister, Mr. David Cameron, is out of London because he is participating in the ASEM meeting in Milan. You are aware that the Minister of State for External Affairs, Mr. V.K. Singh, will be the Indian participant in the ASEM meeting. I think I will stop at that, and if you have any questions on each of these sequentially, I'll answer them. Otherwise, on anything else. The floor is open. Yes, Mr. Venkat Narayan.
Akbar, there is this question of a large number of Indian medical doctors ending up as taxi drivers in Vancouver and several places because Indian medical degrees are not recognized by the Canadian Medical Institute Association or whatever. This has been a problem going on for several years. Did this by any chance figure in the talks today, and is there any plan by the government to take it up? Thanks.
This issue did not figure in the talks, but the issue that figured was in terms of ease of Indian professionals traveling to Canada. And these related largely to IT professionals who go there on short-term visas and who previously had a much easier ability to travel to Canada, but there were some changes that were made in Canadian domestic legislation, not for India, but for across for all countries. And that did figure, but not the topic that you are mentioning. Yes, Parikshit? Just a minute. We'll get the mic.
So we read that Sushma Swaraj, our foreign minister, raised the issue of pro-Khalistan elements in Canada. Did that issue figure in the talks, and was there any kind of specific information shared or databases shared?
Yes, this is an issue that is a issue that figures periodically in our bilateral discussions. We have a dedicated forum for this, and that is discussions between our Deputy National Security Advisors. So there is an annual meeting, and they have met twice, between the two Deputy National Security Advisors, during which they do share information in terms of activities that we consider detrimental to our interests and vice versa. Now, the issue that you are referring to figured in some way, and that is Foreign Minister Baird himself acknowledged that as a young person when he was growing up, he was deeply, deeply affected by the Kanishka air crash because they were students from his class or his neighborhood who was killed in that. And he acknowledged that since then, Canada has come a long way in terms of acting against terrorists. Also, he acknowledged our concerns in terms of radical elements perhaps misusing opportunities available in Canada, and we both agreed that counter-terrorism is an important part of our cooperation between the two countries, and in our case, it was radical groups who may tend to misuse Canadian soil to promote that. But that is the extent to which we discussed this. Just a minute, microphone line.
सरताज अजीत जी ने एक चिट्ठी
नहीं, मैं पहले ये काम खत्म कर दें, उसके बाद यस सर, पहले एक के बाद एक सबको जवाब दे दें. Yes, yes sir. On Canada or on Guatemala or on Pravasi Bharati?
Canada.
Yes.
Trade and investment. Is there any particular sector the investment will come?
No, at this stage, actually, let me try and put, there are two issues in trade and investment, and both are work in progress. One issue is related to a, what you call a BIPA, that is a bilateral investment promotion agreement. This was touched upon. The issue is that you are aware that in India we are undertaking a review of our BIPA arrangements in order to ensure that certain lacuna that we had experienced in the arrangements in a generic sense, not with Canada, but in a generic sense, need to be addressed. We are working on that, and the new government hopes to be ready with a template. Canada, on the other hand, is extremely keen to have a BIPA with us. It is a matter of priority for them. So they will have to wait till we finish, and this is a work in progress, and we have updated them on where we have come, and we expect, as I said, in the not too distant future, this template is likely to be ready and available. That said, the other part is a free trade agreement or a with Canada. Now, Canada, Foreign Minister John Baird mentioned that it was a priority which was mentioned in the manifesto of his party that a free trade agreement with India or a trade agreement with India should be agreed upon, and this is therefore a very matter of high priority for them. I understand the Canadian Trade Minister is here, Mr. Ed Fast. Tomorrow he is meeting with our Minister for Commerce and Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, and they will address these issues and our respective approaches to that there. Yes, sir.
सर ईएम लंदन जा रही हैं प्रवासी भारतीय के लिए, क्या वहां पर कुछ ग्राउंड लेवल प्रिपरेशन इस संदर्भ में भी होगा, जैसा कि जानकारी आ रही है कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर 30 जनवरी के आसपास यूके जाएंगे और वहां गांधी जी की स्टेचू का इनॉग्रेट करेंगे?
ये जानकारी जिसने लिखा है आप उनसे पूछिए, मुझे तो ऐसी कोई जानकारी नहीं है। ये बस आप कोई कुछ लिख देते हैं, कोई कुछ लिख देते हैं, आप इनको सीरियस मत लीजिए। ये तो बस लिखने की और हवा बनाने की बात है। जब तैयार होंगे नेक्स्ट ईयर का प्रोग्राम हम आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे। इस साल तो अभी नेक्स्ट ईयर की बात ही नहीं हुई, अभी प्रधानमंत्री के कई विजिट्स तैयार हो रहे हैं, आप उनके बारे में सोचिए। ये तो अगले साल की बात, ये तो बस ऐसे ही है। जी कहा आप जरा माइक से पूछिए, सब सुन सकें। छुपा छुपी नहीं खेलना चाहिए इसमें।
आपने कहा उनकी कई विजिट्स तैयार हो रही हैं, उस पर सोचिए तो सर कहाँ के लिए सोचें, कहाँ वो जा रहे हैं सर? ठीक
है, आपको बता देते हैं, मैंने पहले भी बताया था लेकिन दोबारा कह देता हूं। अगले महीने 3 समिट्स होंगी। ये है नेपिडो में जो है ईस्ट एशिया समिट, इसके बाद एक होगी G20 समिट, जैसे मैंने अभी बताया था कि शायद प्रधानमंत्री जी कनाडा के प्राइम मिनिस्टर से वहां पर मिलेंगे, और तीसरी है सार्क समिट, जिसको आपको पता है हमने कई दिन पहले कह चुके हैं, वो नवंबर में होगी। तो ये 3 बड़े बड़े समिट्स हैं नवंबर में। इसके अलावा और भी कोई और विजिट्स होंगे जो इनकमिंग विजिट्स हैं, उसके बारे में हम बताएंगे। अगर एक ही दिन में मैं सब बता दूं तो फिर कल कौन आएगा मेरे लिए? यस नाज।
Was this issue of food security also, cooperation discussed, and if it was, what kind of cooperation India, Canada want to have in this area?
You see, Canada is an important agricultural producer. We import a significant share of our lentils from Canada, also potash, which is required in agricultural production, agriculture, etc. However, these were not addressed at great length. But we look to Canada in terms of cooperating in areas relating to agriculture and food security, because Canada is a very important international player in this area. If that is... So nobody else on anything else that I have said. Fine. Now the floor is open for anything else that you may want. Yeah, you asked.
सरताज अजीज जी ने पिछले हफ्ते यूएन को चिट्ठी लिखी थी और कश्मीर मामले पे दखल देने की मांग की थी यूएन से। यूएन की तरफ से उसका कोई जवाब नहीं दिया गया है। इसका अर्थ ये निकाला जा रहा है कि भारत की स्थिति को रिफॉर्म करता है। आपका क्या कहना है?
अगर आप मुझे आज्ञा दें तो मैं इसको अंग्रेजी में जवाब दूं, क्योंकि इसमें कुछ पेचीदगियां होती हैं जो मेरी हिंदी जैसे आप जानते हैं टूटी फूटी सी है। मैं दक्षिण भारत से आया हूं तो हिंदुस्तानी में वार्तालाप कर सकता हूं, लेकिन ये जो बहुत ही अहम मुद्दे हैं इन पर मैं आपको समझा नहीं सकता। तो अगर आप आज्ञा दें तो मैं अंग्रेजी में इसका जवाब दूं। थैंक यू। India's position on this matter is very clear. The only framework in which all outstanding issues between India and Pakistan can be resolved and a peaceful and cooperative ties can be built between the two countries is the one that both countries have agreed to. That is the framework agreed under the Simla Agreement and the Lahore Declaration. Now, I have repeatedly said from this podium, and I will repeat, we have already stated that we are willing for a serious dialogue in this framework. This dialogue will cover all outstanding issues. And if you would like to know, this includes the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. It seems, from what Pakistan is doing, it is not interested in that sort of a dialogue. The sending of a letter to the United Nations Secretary General by Pakistan is a well-known tactic. It has not worked earlier. It will not work now. The road to a peaceful and cooperative relationship between India and Pakistan runs from Islamabad via Lahore to New Delhi. If you divert that road to New York or elsewhere, it will not serve any purpose, because there is no place for third parties in India-Pakistan relations. Also, India will not accept violence on the border or the line of control or continued terrorism against our citizens. It is up to Pakistan to de-escalate the situation, and we feel that Pakistan must take immediate steps to restore peace and tranquility along the international border and the LOC in J&K and end its sponsorship of terrorism against us. Our security forces have been and will continue to respond appropriately to any attempts by Pakistan to undermine peace and tranquility along the international boundary and the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. I hope I have made it very clear. Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. We'll get. Please.
So you just said that the Pakistan writing letter to the UN is the tactics are well known. Do you think that Pakistan is trying to play the victim card by writing a letter and trying to buy time?
Ma'am, I said, if Pakistan is interested in a serious dialogue, then the road is from Islamabad to Lahore and from Lahore to New Delhi. Any diversion is a diversionary tactic. Yes, sir.
Mr. Akbar, you just now said
Twice.
that
I
you
just
will,
now said twice.
no, okay, twice you've said
Yes.
that you will start talking to Pakistan if certain conditions are met. That's what you imply. That's what I understood.
That's what you understood.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Now, if you've said something different, you can correct me.
No.
Now, my point is, n number of times, you stop talking to Pakistan, then you resume talking to Pakistan, then again you stop talking to Pakistan. When will this end? When will you proceed any further? And what will you do after this?
If we knew the solution to India-Pakistan problems, I would be a soothsayer, not an ordinary official spokesperson. Yes, next.
So, former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jaya has been convicted and sentenced for her allegations in right now, and now. So, at this point of time, will the MA make sure that the issues relating to Tamil Nadu fishermen and issues related to the Sri Lankan Tamil, will the government take immediate action again? I mean, action towards all these things to solve, because she has been the runner who addresses, who brings to the attention of Prime Minister regularly. This question is being asked for the reasons there are just need a clarification toward this issue, because there are lots of fishermen units are asking this question.
Let me assure through you, the fishermen units that are asking you this question, that the central government or the government of India is always cognizant of the humanitarian dimensions of the problem that our fishermen face when they go out for fishing. And we understand the problems of Indian fishermen who are based in Tamil Nadu and the problems that they face in Sri Lanka. These are not based because they are from a state or another state. After all, when India speaks on international affairs, we speak with one voice. Yes, sir.
Sir, Mukesh Kaushik from UNI.
Ji.
Miss Malala Yousafzai has invited India and Pakistan leader to accompany her to Nobel Prize ceremony. My question is, does her proposal needs to be accepted by India in principle right now and in practical in later date?
आपने जो सवाल पूछा था, ये राष्ट्रपति जी को भी पूछा गया था, और जो सवाल का जवाब वो नहीं दे सके, मैं कौन होता उसको देने के लिए? Yes, next. Yes, Sinjoy. Can we finish this part about India-Pakistan, then we come to that, so that we have a sequence of flow. Anyone else on this? Otherwise, this issue is closed, then we go to something else. Now, you asked your question, sir. Very, very formidable question. Anyone else on this? Otherwise, then, yes. Just a minute. 1 minute है, जाइए. Microphone ला देंगे.
आज आपकी तरफ से जो बात कही गई है पाकिस्तान को लेकर के, ये बात पहले भी कही गई है, और मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि उसका क्या रिस्पांस कुछ आया है पाकिस्तान की ओर से?
मैंने आपको जब जवाब दिया, मैंने कहा इट सीम्स दैट पाकिस्तान इज नॉट इंटरेस्टेड. सो अगर जवाब आता तो हम आपको कहते. आप लोग थोड़ा सा ध्यान से सुनिए जो मैं कह रहा हूं. हम भी कुछ सोच समझ कर कहते हैं. Yes, okay, then we close this, and then Srinjoy wanted to ask. Yes, after that. Srinjoy.
Sir, the charges against Devyani Khobragade still stand. She has been indicted twice. Is the MEA still in touch with the US on the issue, and is there a solution?
Srinjoy, you are aware that the issue that confronts us is not merely one that executives or administrative authorities can decide. It is an issue which has legal and judicial dimensions. And we have indicated that we will work through these. These are issues which take time, and patience is required. If your question is whether the Government of India is working on this, my answer is yes, it is working on it. Yes, Geeta? You finished, madam. Yes.
What is the ministry's response to Devyani Khobragade's interview that she's given without MEA clearances?
Geeta, I am the spokesman of the Ministry of External Affairs. I don't comment on the internal affairs of the ministry. Yes, sir. Because you presumed a lot of things in your question. Ordinarily, I would answer it. However, you presumed a lot of things in your question. So, therefore, that's my answer to you. Yes.
Sir, Gaza reconstruction.
Yes, please. Can you?
Gaza reconstruction के लिए government ने क्या कुछ किया है?
जी. You are aware that there was an international conference held in Cairo, which was hosted by the government of Egypt and the government of Norway. It attracted participation from 75 countries and international organizations. India was one of those countries. The Palestinian Authority submitted a plan for reconstruction. That plan for reconstruction, they assessed it to be approximately totaling $4 billion US. The commitments made at that conference for this reconstruction plans total $5.4 billion. The Indian commitment is $4 million. This commitment is for specific humanitarian and development projects. Let me give you some examples. There is an IPSA project that India is working with Brazil and South Africa on a hospital in Gaza. Also, India is providing food and humanitarian relief through the UNRWA. The UNRWA is the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine, and they operate in Gaza. So we will work through them, we will work with our IPSA partners, and we will work, if necessary, independently, working with our Palestinian interlocutors and how best, within the limited capabilities that we have, to try and help in a humanitarian cause. Yes, sir. I'll give.
Sir, did Devyani Khobragade speak to the media with MEA clearance?
That's the right question. Yeah. Let me tell you once and for all. I never respond on intra-ministerial or inter-ministerial matters. However, I will answer this once and we close this issue, because I am not going into the depths of this question, of which is purely an intra-ministerial affair. Devyani Khobragade is an officer of the Ministry of External Affairs. Number two, she has made it clear that these were her personal views. Now, if your question is whether she has sought permission and been granted it, my answer to that is no on both counts. And I will further not discuss this because this is, as I told Geeta, matters of an internal nature. There's nothing to do with an external affairs issue at all. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Excuse me, but I have a specific question on South Korea. I'm Iwata, Sankei Shimbun, Japan. Our correspondent was indicted recently by South Korean prosecutors on charge. He defamed South Korean president by his article on website. But moreover, he was banned to leave South Korea, and this order has been extended several times. And some journalist association, as well as the United States, expressed concern on that. So I think India is the biggest democracy, and I believe it's a leading country to guarantee the freedom of speech. So if possible, I'd like to seek your comment on this issue.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your effort to think that I am a sage who will pronounce everything from this stage. That said, I think each country's approach to foreign policy is different. There are those who use the megaphone to announce things. There are others who work differently. As far as India is concerned, we do not use megaphones, neither in the case that you are referring to or in other cases. Our credentials need not be bolstered or embellished by what we pronounce or don't pronounce outside India. I think our credentials of a democracy stand on their own. We do not need any certification from others on what is a vibrant, robust, and living democracy. Yes, sir.
Sir, are we having any discussions within the government or with Italy on resolving the Marines issue?
I think you took away Maria's question. She's been waiting for so long. Anyway, it's the same question. I am not aware. First of all, let's go one by one. I never answer on intra-ministerial things. I just mentioned this before, and on that issue also I will not answer. Because if there are any issues of an intra-ministerial nature which have not been finalized, I don't think that we will share it in the public domain. Now, if your question is that are there negotiations between Italy and us on this, the answer is, as of now, no. Yes, sir. And then.
So, with the surgence of the ISIS, 3 days ago in Kashmir, flags of the ISIS was found. So, is the government monitoring this? And
I am not the Home Ministry spokesperson. This is a matter for those who are responsible for the security and safety of Indians in India to respond to. And I am certain, given that it has received attention from so many quarters, those who are responsible for these will take action. I would suggest that you direct that question to them. Yes, last question. Yes. You? Okay.
Hi. A Bangladeshi cabinet minister who has been sacked this weekend over alleged blasphemous comments has apparently taken refuge in Kolkata, and he has made it clear that he wants to live in India till he is able to return to Bangladesh. My question is, are you aware of this development? And if yes, what's your stand on that?
Just for your information, we don't have a refugee law. So I don't know what you're talking of. Yes, Maria?
Yes, regarding the summit ASEM in Milano, do you know if Mr. V.K. Singh is meeting also some authorities bilaterally? Thanks.
Maria, I do not have that information of whether he will meet any Italian dignitaries, but it is normal. India and Italy have good relations. And it is normal for the host to meet delegations which come from outside. I do not know the specifics. I will find it out for you and certainly let you know by the end of the day. But what is normal will be done. Well, yeah, Sachin, last question.
So what's the last you have heard on the plight of the construction workers who remain in captivity in Iraq?
The same that I have told you. Thank you very much. We end this interaction.